All rise.
I'd like to welcome everybody out. Thanks for coming. As always, we'll start with the pledge. Commissioner Stamps will lead us in the pledge.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Also, would like to recognize Brent Baylor to present Friar Ryan McCoy for the opening prayer.
Thank you, Commissioner Stamps, Chairman Brown, Commissioner Carr. I want to introduce our next guest speaker and thank him for taking the time out of his schedule to open this docket in prayer. Just a little bit about him. He's the son of Michael and Karen McCoy, longtime veterinarian, 47 years in Jackson County. He's the middle sibling of 3 boys, studied philosophy at Southern Miss. He's my pastor at St. James Catholic Church in Gulfport. It's my pleasure and honor to welcome all the way from Hurley, Mississippi, population of 1,300, Father Ryan McCoy.
We're going to begin in the Catholic tradition in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. The Lord be with you and with your spirit. And we hear from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. A stranger, and you welcomed me. Naked, and you clothed me. Ill, and you cared for me. In prison, you visited me." Then the righteous will answer him and say, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? When did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? When did we see you ill or in prison and visit you?" And the king will say to them in reply, "Amen, I say to you, whatever you did for one of these least brothers of mine, you did for me." And now we'll ask God's blessing to be upon this body who serves us. Blessed are you, Lord, God of mercy, who through your Son gave us marvelous example of charity and the great commandment of love for one another. Send down your blessings upon these your servants who so generously devote themselves to helping others. When they are called in times of need, let them faithfully serve you and their neighbor. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. The Lord be with you and with your spirit. May Almighty God bless this body in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Father McCoy. We'll now move on to the agenda. You may be seated. We'll start with the consent docket. Item number 1, adoption of the proposed consent docket of the June 2025 open meeting of the Commission. I have a motion to adopt the proposed consent docket.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the electric natural gas agenda. Item number 1, Ms. Myrick, you're recognized to present item number 1, docket number 2024 UA 129.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Entergy filed its annual formula rate plan filing that adjusts the company's base rates for the current year and provides a look back at the results of the prior year. The company's filing for its 2025 test year indicated a projected earned return on rate base for the period of 7.69%, which is within their bandwidth range of no change, indicating no change in rates is required. Entergy also filed its look-back based on the actual results for the 2024 test year. Its actual return for the look-back period was 7.52%, falling within the bandwidth range of no change, indicating no rate adjustment was required for the look-back period. However, the 2024 look-back shows an interim rate adjustment to reduce rates by approximately $135,000 relating to two outside the bandwidth items. The first is an adjustment of $47,563 related to the final true-up of the restructuring credit rider that has expired. And the second is an adjustment for $87,374 related to the demand-side management true-up. Staff reviewed Entergy's filing along with the company's proposed known and measurable adjustments for the 2025 test period. Entergy proposed known and measurable adjustments to reflect the inclusion of annual revenues and deferred revenues and prepaid contributions in aid of construction received from one or more large customers. Entergy also proposed an adjustment to account 407 to correct an accounting error related to the grid modernization rider. Staff's review resulted in disallowances of approximately $324,000 to rate base and $1.4 million to O&M expense. On June 10th, staff and Entergy entered into a joint stipulation agreeing to the proposed adjustments. With the stipulated adjustments, Entergy's projected earned return on rate base remains within the bandwidth range of no change, but due to the 2024 look-back interim rate adjustments, July bills will reflect a slight decrease of 4 cents for a 1,000 kilowatt-hour residential customer. Staff recommends approval of the joint stipulation.
Thank you for that presentation. Do you have any questions? Yes, sir. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Entergy Mississippi has been a historic company in our history in Mississippi. They've done great work over the years, but today I'm not supporting this measure because their reliability is not where it needs to be in comparison to the other energy companies in Mississippi. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Motion.
A second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to item number 2. Ms. Myrick, thank you for that. I'd like to recognize Representative Mississippi Power Company to come forward and present item number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Leo Manuel with Balch and Bingham, representing Mississippi Power Company. I have Mr. Ben Vance here with me with Mississippi Power Company to present the summary for this item in docket 2006 UN 511. So in this docket, Mississippi Power Company filed its annual report pursuant to its SRR rate schedule. It was submitted on March 3rd, 2025. There's been no active intervention, and the staff has conducted a full investigation of this filing. The filing itself did not request a change in rates at all. The current rate for SRR is 0. And the result of the filing, after the staff's review, there was a stipulation that was filed in the case on June 12th, 2025. And there were some minor adjustments discovered in the staff's review with respect to truing up the cost of capital and making a minor adjustment to the prior year's balance. All of those adjustments resulted in about a $300,000 increase to their accrual, so it actually increases the money available to customers in the stipulation. As a result of the stipulation, the projected 2025 balance for the property damage reserve is about $65 million. And the filing and the stipulation also requests that the commission approve an increase in the allowed balance of the property damage reserve to $125 million total. There's an order that's been proposed to your staff and reviewed and for your consideration that would approve the stipulation as filed and result in all the summaries I just provided. Myself and Mr. Vance are here to answer any questions you might have about it.
Thank you for your presentation. Commissioner Stamps, recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say I appreciate you for your hard work and dedication. I get 0 phone calls from Mississippi Power, and the reliability of your service is great. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Can you give me the history on this, when this was
came into to the commission for this act?
I'm old enough to answer that question off the top of my head. Yes, it was right after Hurricane Katrina in 2006.
No, I'm talking about when it was established.
The rider itself?
My understanding is 1959.
Oh, well, the property damage reserve
Yeah.
was, yes, the account itself, the current version of the SRR rider itself was created in 2006. But you're right, there's been a property damage reserve at Mississippi Power Company since the 50s.
Was this, can you tell me what happened during Katrina?
So prior to Katrina, we had minimum dollars in the reserve, and it was, I can't remember the exact number, but it was $10 to $15 million. Obviously, Katrina hit, $302 million storm, and it depleted the reserve, the few millions that we had in there. And luckily, we were able to get some CDBG, Community Development Block Grant funds to help restore, or to fund, the restoration, and also some state securitization bonds that helped to fund a new reserve. And so after Katrina, after all the work was done, we came to this commission and asked to take $60 million of the securitized funds and put them into to the property damage reserve, immediately, increasing that reserve up to $60 million. From about from that point, which was about 2007, all the way up until 2020, when Hurricane Zeta hit, that balance was around $60 million. And it fluctuated, $5 million here or there, but it always stayed on average around $60 million. When Hurricane Zeta hit, immediately following Hurricane Ida, and then we had two winter storms early 2021, in the winter of 2021, that $60 million reserve was also depleted. And so, I can't remember, I think it was about $5 million, that balance went negative. We came, after all the restoration was done, we came back to this commission and asked for, and let me back up. During that period of time, from Katrina till Zeta, there was no rate. That money that was used to securitize that balance was all we needed. So there was no rate in place. Once we depleted those funds, we then came to y'all and asked for an SRR, the current SRR version, and asked to do a couple of things on the accounting side, which was move some dollars into PEP and amortize that. That immediately brought that reserve balance back up to about $45 million. And then we asked for an actual rate to begin charging so we could accrue dollars into the reserve. And so that's been happening since 2021. That first initial rate went into place in 2021, and we have not changed that rate since. And so today we're actually asking to not change that rate still. We're still able to accrue to about $13 million into the reserve. So we're slowly but surely, knock on wood, we're getting there. We average on roughly $4 to $5 million a year in actual cost. That's without a major hurricane. So we're asking to try to get to that $125 million minimum balance so that we have, we believe, a pretty good cushion should another, Zeta or another Ida hit.
So can you tell me your reliability, how many minutes per year that your customers out?
So on the distribution side, it does change, obviously, from year to year, depending on events. But, and we're going to have a presentation a little later that will show all this.
Okay,
But
that's fine.
okay.
Okay, we'll get it later.
Okay.
Okay. All right. That's it.
Any more questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation. Moving on to the remainder of the energy agenda, Ms. Myrick, you're recognized to present items 3 through 11.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On March 17th, Mississippi Power filed an application requesting approval of its 2025 jurisdictional cost of service study in compliance with Commission Order and docket number 1981 UA 408, which directed the company to file a cost of service study every 2 years. Mississippi Power requests that the 2025 study be used by the company for rates and other cost of service related matters filed after March 17th of this year. In its filing, Mississippi Power requests approval to change the methodology for calculating its cost of service factors. The company has historically used a historical test period in calculating its cost of service allocators, but it's proposing to use a projected test year in calculating its cost of service allocators going forward due to the anticipated shifts in costs between customer classes driven by the anticipated influx of large load customers in the upcoming years. To assist with our review, staff engaged Mr. Dustin Madsen with Imridia Consulting to review the company's 2025 study. Mr. Madsen reviewed the filing and Mississippi Power's proposed changes and recommended approval of the 2025 study as filed. The updated cost of service allocators result in approximately $12 million of the company's proposed PEP increase in docket number 2019 UN 219. And based on the recommendation of Mr. Madsen, staff recommends approval.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. Any questions?
Good.
Hearing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next two items we're going to take up together because my understanding is just a mapping thing, so it's the same issue on both of them.
That's correct.
So,
The
yeah.
filings are exactly the
Items
same.
4 and 5, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On February 17th, Mississippi Power and Pearl River Valley Electric Power Association filed separate petitions requesting to exchange portions of their certificated areas in Lamar County. The certificated areas of Mississippi Power and Pearl River Valley abut near Highway 589, and the companies recently became aware that Pearl River Valley has been providing electric service to one customer, a commercial event center that is inside Mississippi Power's certificated area. Both companies determined that the best solution for the affected customer would be to allow the event center to continue to be served by Pearl River Valley and to allow Pearl River Valley to serve any new commercial developments in the area. The companies have agreed that Mississippi Power will transfer a 21.2-acre portion of its certificated service area along Highway 589 to Pearl River Valley. In exchange, Pearl River Valley will transfer to Mississippi Power a 49.14-acre portion of certificated service area in the new residential development of Bridgewater subdivision. The proposed certificated area exchanges will allow both companies to expand their systems in these certificated service areas, as well as limit to their costs to current and future customers. No money is being exchanged, as each utility service area constitutes the consideration for the exchange, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you for your presentation. Any questions, gentlemen? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Same thing with items 6 and 7. Ms. Myrick, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On February 17th, Mississippi Power and Pearl River Valley Electric Power Association filed separate petitions requesting to exchange portions of their certificated service areas in Stone County. The certificated areas of both companies abut a new residential development that will be known as the Shadowwood subdivision. Presently, half of the subdivision would be served by Mississippi Power and the other half by Pearl River Valley. However, both companies will be required to install facilities through the area certificated to the other. Due to the location of the facilities of each electric provider, Mississippi Power and Pearl River Valley have agreed that the future residents of Shadowwood would be better served if both companies revised service territories to allow both utilities to more efficiently and cost-effectively provide power to the entire subdivision. Mississippi Power will transfer 29.952 acres in Shadowwood subdivision to Pearl River Valley, and Pearl River Valley will transfer to Mississippi Power 14.225 acres of certain tracts in Stone County. This exchange will allow both companies to limit costs to customers and promote the development of the affected areas. No money is being exchanged, as each utility service area constitutes the consideration for the exchange. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you again for the presentation. Do I have any questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to items 8 and 9. Ms. Meyer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On February 17th, Mississippi Power and a Coast Electric Power Association filed separate petitions requesting to exchange portions of their certificated service areas in Pearl River and Hancock counties. The certificated areas of the companies abut near the Hideaway Lake subdivision in Pearl River County. The companies recently became aware that Coast Electric has been providing electric power service to 3 residences located within Mississippi Power's certificated service territory. Coast Electric has existing facilities along the east side of East Sunnybrook Road near the affected customers, and significant investments would be required from Mississippi Power to serve them. Therefore, the companies determined that the best solution for the affected customers is to allow the 3 residences, 1 on the west side of East Sunnybrook Road and 2 on the east side of East Sunnybrook Road, to continue to be served by Coast Electric. Mississippi Power will transfer to Coast Electric 5.371 acres in the Hideaway Lake subdivision in Pearl River County, and Coast Electric will transfer to Mississippi Power a 2.52 acre portion of its certificated service area in the new residential development of Shieldsboro subdivision in Hancock County. The exchange will help both companies limit costs to customers and promote the development of the areas. No money is being exchanged, as each utility service area constitutes the consideration for the exchange, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Ms. Meyer. Any questions? Yes, sir. You recognize Commissioner Carr.
I'd like to make a comment. It makes the commission's job a lot easier when utility companies work together for the better of our citizens. And through all this, I'm sure that there was a lot of work that went into it from the utility staff and from these utility companies. And I greatly appreciate that. That's all.
Thank you for those comments. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to items 10 and 11. Ms. Meyer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On February 17th, Mississippi Power and Coast Electric filed separate petitions requesting to exchange portions of their certificated service area in Harrison County. The certificated areas of both companies abut in the future River Hills subdivision. River Hills is platted to include multiple phases, which are expected to be developed with residential homes in the future. Based on the current certificated service territories, portions of the various phases must be served by Mississippi Power and other portions by Coast. Due to the required location of the facilities, Mississippi Power and Coast Electric have agreed that the future residences of River Hills would be better served if both companies revised their service territories to allow both utilities to more efficiently and cost-effectively provide power to the entire subdivision. Mississippi Power will transfer 79.483 acres to Coast Electric, and Coast Electric will transfer to Mississippi Power 37.12 acres in other areas of Harrison County. The exchange should limit costs to customers and promote the development of the affected areas. No money is being exchanged, as each utility service area constitutes the consideration for the exchange, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you again, Ms. Meyer. Any questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the proposed order?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Good job, Ms. Meyer. I know that's a load, so good job to you and your team. Thanks. And to the power companies, as Commissioner Carr said. Thank y'all for working together. Moving on to the telecommunications agenda. Mr. Jones, you're recognized to present item number 1, docket number 2025 UA 48.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, in 2025 UA 0048, Extenet Asset Entity LLC, which I'll refer to as EAE from here on out, is in good standing in Mississippi Secretary of State's office. They seek a CPCN to provide facilities-based and resold competitive local exchange and inter-exchange telecommunications services throughout our state. The company plans to provide primarily to carrier customers such as AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile, point-to-point telecom services such as Ethernet for high-speed data transport, provisioned and leased partly over fiber optic cable. Based upon EAE's application with its attached exhibits, responses to staff's data request, and further inquiry of which commission has been apprised, EAE appears to possess the financial, technical, and managerial capabilities to provide the telecommunications services in our state. Further, the granting authority requested would be in the public interest, as EAE's entry will strengthen competition, contribute to the development of the state's telecommunication infrastructure. Therefore, the staff recommends the commission approve EAE's application.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Do I have any questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the proposed order?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Jones.
You're welcome, sir.
We'll move now to the administrative agenda. Item number 1, discussion and possible action regarding approval of commission minutes for the May 2025 term of commission. Do I have a motion to approve the May minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item number 2, Mr. Jones, you're recognized to handle item number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 2 is for the renewal contracts for Hamilton Relay and T-Mobile, who provide the dual-party relay service for our state. The dual-party relay service is a federally mandated program that each state is required to provide, and it provides the means by which hearing, speech, or dual sensory impaired persons can use specialized equipment to communicate over the existing telecommunications network. This service is funded through a 25-cent assessment on each landline in the state. The PSC manages a trust fund and authorized payments for this service upon collecting that assessment. As stated, our relay service is provided by T-Mobile and Hamilton Relay. And both companies operate on a 2-year contract, and it's time to renew that contract at the end of this month. And our experience so far with these companies over the years has been very positive. They offer, competitive rates, excellent customer service, and they're very quick to respond to any issues of which we have heard very few of.
I've actually used this service. A friend of mine is hearing impaired, and so they do a good job. The experience I've had with them. So, any questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve these contract renewals?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to item number 3. Mr. Manuel? Mr. Manuel, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And also, I'm joined here with Great Rivers Representative Brad Cates, who I know you all know. So this next agenda item is in relation to docket numbers 2025 UN 34 and 2025 UN 35. These two dockets represent Great River Utility Operating Company's annual FRP filings. Those filings were made on February 28, 2025. There was no intervention in either docket. The staff completed a full review of that submittal and has recommended to your commission no adjustments to the revenue requirements that were submitted in the initial filing. As you know, on June 9th, Great River submitted a supplemental annual report, and the purpose for which was to make a 4th rate proposal for this commission's consideration. So the first filing made 3 alternative proposals that were similar to the proposals that were submitted last year, and the supplemental report was the 4th. The summary of the 4th is very simple. The 4th proposal would result in a rate moratorium for 3 years, so until 2028. It would reduce rates for the vast majority of customers immediately, and certainly over that 3-year period, versus any other alternative that's under consideration. It would adopt most of the new reporting and audit procedures that were previously proposed. And Great River has committed, if approved, to dismiss its pending appeals. And you have an order before you in both dockets, one for each, that would approve that proposal.
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Manuel. Any questions?
Good.
Commissioner Carr, you recognize.
Yes. Again, I'm very thankful for everybody that has worked on this. It's a long time coming. It was explained to me yesterday that a deal is where both parties, come together and compromise, and that's what has happened. I think it's for the betterment of our citizens. It gives time for Great River to get their ducks in a row, so to speak. Gives them ample time, to put in water meters, fix whatever they got to fix, and then we'll come back and address those. And then that'll give the citizens time to levelize their bills over this period of time, and it'll give a little relief to our utility staff too, and to the commission, and to our staff that receives the phone calls tremendously. And those, I must admit, since Mr. Brad has been on board, have dwindled down. This commission has been handed this, and we're trying to make the best of it. And I appreciate Great River and their commitment for the betterment of our citizens and our ratepayers to lower these bills and to put them in a moratorium. I greatly appreciate that, I really do. And I greatly appreciate their work in our state. We have a lot of work to do. We're not finished yet. It's a good pat on the back, as my dad would say. Thank y'all.
I'll echo what Commissioner Carr has said. Plus, brag on him. He's worked really, really hard on this issue, working with y'all and the public utility staff. And I know it seemed a little disjointed as we go through the process, but it is a new process. And so we do appreciate the utility working with us and the staff to try to give as much relief as we can to the ratepayers that are in those districts. And again, thanks for stepping up the customer service side as well, because that was some lacking. So I do think through the process we learned a lot. As Commissioner Carr said, we're going to continue to learn, but the biggest part is, I think, the art of compromise is where both parties aren't extremely happy with the result, but we come to a point to where we can agree what's best to go ahead and stabilize, triage these systems and get the services that the ratepayers deserve. So I know, again, it's looked kind of disjointed at times, but I appreciate everybody staying the course and working for the benefit of the ratepayer and to make sure that the utility is taken care of as well. So thank you all for everybody that's worked to try to get us here. Any other questions, comments? Yes, sir. You recognize.
Thank you for your hard work and dedication across all of this, and all of the citizens who have been a part of this and watching this process unfold over the last several years. I appreciate the previous commission's foundational work in getting this off the ground, and in the journey we've been on, I learned a lot, and I look forward to continuing to work in the future. But today, I won't be supporting this measure.
Any other questions?
Second?
Yeah. I don't need a motion.
Oh, okay.
We have a motion to approve the proposed order.
Motion.
Motion, second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Before getting to our final item, I'd like to recognize Laura Dixon to present an item for possible inclusion into the agenda. Ms. Dixon, you're recognized to present the item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We actually have two related matters to present for the commission to vote to add by unanimous consent, if applicable. The first would be an order opening a rulemaking docket to consider proposed changes to the net generation rule. The proposal is to delete the language in Chapter 6, Customer Programs, from the rule. The order would allow 20 days for interveners or interested parties to intervene, and a total of 45 days from the date of entry of the order within which to file written comments pursuant to the Administrative Procedures Act.
Okay. Are there any questions? Yes, sir.
Does this require all three of us to vote for this?
Well, procedurally, the commission needs to vote whether
Add it
to
to
add
the
the item to the agenda, and
Okay.
then vote substantively on the order itself.
Do we have a motion to add it to the agenda? A motion, do I have a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay. Moving on to item 5. Do it.
Let me,
Yeah, we can't add it to the agenda if it's
Let me
not
ask you-
unanimous.
that's my question. Do I have to vote to add it to the agenda and then vote yes or
You
no
can-
on the actual
Correct.
item?
Yeah,
If
you can
it's
vote
to
against
be
the
taken
motion.
up procedurally, it would need to be added by unanimous consent, and then
We just
there's
put
a
it on
separate
next
vote
month
on
if-
the-
No,
on
we
the
can
substance.
put it on. I didn't want to vote for the item.
We'll change the minutes will reflect that you voted yea to add.
Correct.
And then substantively, the next vote would be whether to approve and enter the order opening the
Okay.
rulemaking proceedings.
Let's load it back up again. Okay, let's try this again. Hearing no questions, do I have a motion to add this item to the agenda by unanimous consent? Do I have a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Now, do we have a motion to approve the item?
Yes.
Have a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries. I think we got that right that time.
Thank you. The next matter is connected to this, and we will again need a first, the matter is the consideration of an order staying the Solar for Schools tariffs pending the Administrative Procedures Act rulemaking on Chapter 6 of the Net Generation Rule.
Okay.
So first would be a vote to add it to the agenda, and then I can present the merits.
Okay. Do I have a motion to add this item, add it to the agenda?
Yes.
Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're recognized. Thank you.
So substantively, this would be an order entered in 4 dockets. It's dockets 2016 UN 33, 2023 UN 16, 2023 UN 17, and 2023 UN 18. And what this does is it stays the tariffs concerning Solar for Schools programs that are entered in those matters pending the outcome of the rulemaking proceeding on Chapter 6 of the Net Generation Rule.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Yes, sir.
Just to clarify my position on these things, it didn't matter if I voted it down today, it was going to be on the agenda next month anyway, so we might as well go ahead and take it up, even if I vote no on the actual item.
Correct, Commissioner. This is just procedural matter at this
Right.
point. Any substantive adoption or not of proposed changes will come after receipt and consideration of comments, written comments from interested parties. So what we're doing now is just opening the procedure that is required by the Administrative Procedures Act, and then we can move forward with substantive consideration of the changes themselves.
And my other point in this whole matter was because I don't feel that the parties who were interested were properly noticed about the action even happening before it's being put on the agenda.
Well, and so that's why there's a time period given. The actual Administrative Procedures Act only requires 25 days for written comment, and our order today gives 20 days for intervention into the docket, plus an additional 25 days for a total of 45 days within which to appear and file written comments.
I'm sure there'll be people intervening by this evening.
And again, just to refresh, this is the issue of subsidies for solar.
Correct.
Yeah. So basically, we're addressing not having everybody pay for somebody else's solar.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay. Any other questions? Have a motion?
Motion.
Second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Does that complete your presentation, Ms. Dixon?
Yes, it does.
Great,
Thank you,
thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman.
Appreciate it. Moving on to item 5. Ms. McClure, you're recognized. Present item number 5.
As she comes to the podium, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the hard work of the staff and your office and Commissioner Carr's office because our utility workers are special to us. They work hard. They're out there in the field. They're the people who provide the true safety, because no matter how many police officers you have or firefighters you have in your community, until those lights come back on, until that water is reconnected, you really don't feel safe until that happens. And our linemen are parked on the side of the road, and cars are whizzing by, and they should be respected to the same degree as every other first responder, because most of the time they respond first in the first place, and then lastly they're the last ones to leave. And I just want to elevate their position in our society to be in the same mind frame as all the first responders. And I recognize Ms. McClure to read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner Stamps. Resolution recognizing utility workers be recognized as first responders. Whereas utility workers are highly trained professionals who perform general maintenance and emergency repairs to utilities such as gas, water, and electricity. Utility workers serve as the backbone of American infrastructure, ensuring timely and efficient services that are critical to the daily functions of life. And whereas utility workers often work in hazardous conditions such as storms, extreme heat or cold, and natural disasters to restore critical services. They often work unceasingly at all hours to ensure that communities have uninterrupted access to power, clean water, and safe environments. And whereas during emergencies such as hurricanes, tornadoes, and ice storms, utility workers are among the first on the scene, operating alongside police, firefighters, and EMS to stabilize conditions, clear roadways of downed power lines, and restore essential services to hospitals, schools, and emergency shelters. These brave men and women spend countless nights away from their families to ensure that society has gas, water, and electricity during the most urgent times. And whereas, despite their life-saving efforts and frontline presence during disasters, utility workers are not currently classified as first responders, which can delay their ability to respond effectively and quickly. And whereas recognizing utility workers as first responders would ensure they receive the same priority access to restricted areas, emergency resources, and protective support that other first responders receive during crisis. And whereas the recognition of utility workers as first responders would also highlight the importance of their service, promote recruitment and retention, and encourage investment in workforce safety and training. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mississippi Public Service Commission urges the state of Mississippi to recognize and honor the critical contributions of utility workers as first responders in light of their imperative role in emergency response, public safety, and infrastructure restoration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McClure. I'll echo what Commissioner Stamps said. You know, that it makes sense that we urge our legislative colleagues to recognize linemen as first responders, because they are a lot of times the first to respond. And it is a matter of life and death. A lot of people rely on those services, and these men and women are, a friend of mine's a lineman. And if you've ever rode along with them in the middle of trying to clear limbs and trees off power lines and climbing these poles with it still pouring down rain and some lightning flashing around them, and they stay the course. If that's not something we ought to recognize and put in that category, I don't know what is. And so I appreciate Commissioner Stamps offering the resolution. I wholeheartedly support it and encourage our legislative colleagues across the road here to recognize our linemen as first responders. Mr. Carr.
I would just say amen to what they just said.
Even down to the men and women who are digging holes and fixing sewer lines. They may not get paid the most, but they have the spirit of David, because they dig a hole, jump off in it, knowing that it's sewer in this hole, and when they cut that pipe, it's going to be full of sewer, and they're going to be covered with sewer. And if they don't do that work, everybody on the streets, toilet's not going to flush. If that's not, work and duty that's worthy of true acknowledgement, I don't know what it is.
Amen.
Thank you again. Again, thanks to all the utility workers out there today listening. Do you have a motion to approve the proposed resolution?
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Is there any other business to come before the commission? Yes, sir. You're recommended.
I just want to make a general comment. In this work that we do, it requires our best, our absolute best. And for me in my office, we appreciate the public utility staff, so these comments are not directed towards you all. But everyone else in the room, we need your best. We need excellence from everybody. And everything that you produce that's not excellent should not be brought to the Public Service Commission. Whether you work here or a utility worker, we need your absolute excellence to be brought to the table. We might not work all the time, but when we do work, that work product must be excellent. And that's the only thing I'll be accepting in the future is excellence from a utility worker or anybody, because the Mississippians that we serve deserve our best. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, we'll take a brief recess before we begin the hearing, our hearing agenda. We'll reconvene to begin the hearing agenda. Before the commission is docket number 2019 UN 219, Mississippi Power Company's 2025 Performance Evaluation Plan, or PEP, report. We'll start with entries of appearance. Leo, you're recognized.
Leo Manuel with Balch & Bingham, representing Mississippi Power Company. I am here with my law partner, Mary Catherine Barnes.
Thank you. It's my understanding that the staff of Mississippi Power have agreed to a joint stipulation which will be presented by Mississippi Power. Mr. Manuel, you're recognized to present the stipulation.
Yep.
Oh, sir.
Sorry about that.
Nope, thank you for that correction.
Yeah, no problem.
Mr. Manuel, recognized.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So before you today is Mississippi Power Company's annual formulated rate plan, PEP. That was originally filed on March 17, 2025. There's no active intervention in this docket. As you mentioned, the staff conducted a full review of this filing and a stipulation was entered on June 12, 2025. That's all on file with you. The purpose here today is to have a hearing, and because the stipulation's been submitted and there's no intervention and there's no issues contested, all the parties have gotten together, and what we've decided to do is make a presentation in lieu of a formal evidentiary hearing. We filed 4 pre-filed testimonies from 4 witnesses with our filing, and all 4 of our witnesses are here today. And so if necessary, in fact, 2 of them will be presenting here today to you. But if there are any questions from the staff or the commission that would require that we revert into a formal hearing, we're prepared to do that. But we're going to try something a little bit new. The stipulation that was submitted, just in very summary, had a few adjustments to the company's filing. It did not impact ultimately the rate request proposed, the level of rates. Again, we can get into those details. And so because we're not going to be introducing witnesses one by one and swearing them in, I would just offer the entire file that is made with the commission that would include the stipulation as a hearing exhibit, exhibit number 1 at this time. And if there's no objections, I would just ask that be entered into the record.
We'll enter it into the record. Thank you.
Okay. And so, Mr. Chairman, again, I think what I'm going to do right now is introduce Mr. Ben Vance, who's going to start off with our presentation. And then when our presentation is done, then I'll come back to conclude the formalities of the hearing. And I'm sure Mr. Vance would probably say this, but just in case, feel free to ask questions at any time that, both the commission and staff. We're trying to make this a little bit more informal and collaborative, and so we'll see how this goes.
Thank you, Mr. Manuel. Mr. Vance, you recognize.
Thank you. So again, my name is Ben Vance. I'm with Mississippi Power Company, and today, as Mr. Manuel stated, we're just going to present some slides to y'all to show you primarily kind of to show you our reliability metrics across the power generation sector and across the power delivery sector, both transmission and distribution. So I'm going to kind of start with just a couple of high-level kind of brief slides, and then Mr. Patrick Leathers, who is our general manager of distribution, will present a few slides on the power delivery side. And then Ms. Tiffany Mackin, who is our plant manager at Plant Daniel, she'll finish up with a couple of slides on power generation. And like Mr. Manuel said, at any point y'all ask us questions, stop us, slow us down, speed us up, whatever you need to do, and we'll just kind of start working through the slides. So, make sure I get this. It's on.
There you go.
I think there's only 10 slides. We can just say advance. So this first slide is a map of our service territory. And so what I want to show you is, and you may have seen this before, but if you notice these are the 23 counties in southeast Mississippi. If you notice all of the white dots there, kind of scattered throughout, that is our actual service territory. So we operate within 23 counties, but our service territory is defined by those white areas. All the other colored areas are served by another utility, either a co-op, a municipality, or another IOU, but we are operating in just those white areas. And so the point of that is we're a very fragmented service territory. We have to run lots of transmission and distribution lines throughout these 23 counties to serve smaller pockets of customers. You can see along the coast, we've got a pretty good area, which is obviously Gulfport, Biloxi, Long Beach, all the way over to Ocean Springs. And then you can kind of see Hattiesburg there in the middle, Morris, Lamar County, and then obviously up there in Lauderdale County, we've got Meridian. So there are some larger pockets, but primarily you see a bunch of small towns that we serve. And that was all spelled out and I guess codified in 1956 under the Act. And so we are operating under those same defined parameters today. From time to time, as y'all obviously approved earlier today, we will do a service territory swap or decide to serve another customer that an EPA or someone else has, just for efficiency, for cost and efficiency of service. But that is our service territory, very fragmented. Lots of transmission and distribution have to run between those areas. So next slide. So this is our capital expenditures for 2025. You will see that the largest bucket there is distribution, $116 million. In total, we plan to spend $340 million this year on capital expenditures to strengthen the grid, to harden the grid, resiliency, all those things that we're working on, all those things that provide the metrics that my colleagues will speak about in a second. That's all built into those numbers. A lot of the power delivery side, so 116 plus the 64, almost half of our budget will be spent on a power delivery side, the transmission and distribution wires. If you look over the course of time, the capital expenditures is growing a little bit over time. It's steadily increasing based on inflation, based on the number of projects that we have. But I'll tell you, in any given year, you may see those colors change. You know, transmission may go down, generation may go up, but we do that as we pull the whole budget together to try to mitigate any large swings in the capital plan, the capital budget. And so we are working together on all functions to try to increase the budget as little as we can, but knowing that we still are fighting things like inflation and just the storms and everything else that we're dealing with. So that's kind of the high level beginner until the experts get up and start telling you about all the metrics that we have on the power delivery and power generation side. Any questions on these two?
Back to some comments that Commissioner Stamps had, it's, the reliability with that kind of fragmentation is pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Mr. Leathers, you're up.
All right, good morning. As
Morning.
Mr. Vance mentioned, I'm Patrick Leathers. I'm the Distribution General Manager with Mississippi Power Company. And this morning, over the next few slides, I'll provide an overview of our power delivery organization. We'll look at our transmission and distribution reliability, and we'll support those projects, those individual projects that are filed in our capital and energy delivery plans that are on file there with the commission. So our power delivery organization consists of our transmission, distribution, and division operations groups. There's approximately 500 employees within our power delivery organization. We get the pleasure of serving 192,000 customers in Southeast Mississippi. The stats that you see up here on the top table there are some of the metrics. I'm not going to go through all of these. You can see the miles of line. We have approximately 147 substations. The key here is the expenditures that you see by program there on 2025 are in support of continuing to reliably, safely, and resiliently serve our customers associated with those assets that you see there in the top table. Mr. Vance mentioned the investment that we're making here is over half of the company's total capital expenditures. These categories that you see here on the bottom table, so we have a grid investment program. We divide that into the 4 categories that you see here. And just some examples of some of the projects there. No big surprise, we highly value and invest a lot in the reliability and resiliency of our system to serve our customers. That's why you see the largest dollars in that bucket. That's storm hardening, that's infrastructure removal. Those are kind of projects that you can see there. There's new business, there's the planning projects, there's fiber installation, fiber replacement. So those are some samples of the projects that you see scattered throughout those various buckets there. So, next slide. So this next slide, and I would ask you to focus on the darker image there. It's a little bit easier to see there. This is an overview of our transmission system. You'll see it's color-coded there. It's colored by voltage classification. So the red color is our 46 kV system. You see a gold color, which is our 115, blue, which is our 230, and we have one 500 kV line that runs across our coast there coming out of Plant Daniel. You can see the major areas there in relationship to Meridian, Hattiesburg, and the coast. The takeaway from this slide is we've got transmission system that's scattered throughout our service territory there. The little dots that you see are the substations, so those are the customers and communities that we serve there. Any questions on any of that?
I got a question.
Sure. All right, next slide.
So, I mean,
Oh, he's a good
wait,
question.
one question.
Sorry.
I have a question.
How do you determine the distance between substations?
So distance between substations, it can depend on the load that's being served. That's usually what's driving that. The location, so if you have a large industrial customer, for instance, that substation is typically going to be located as close as we can get it to that load center. If you're serving a town or a community, you may be able to serve those customers a little bit further out in those situations, but it's typically driven by load.
What are some of the things? Some of your customers are, of course, in more populated spaces, but you do have a rural component.
That's correct.
How do you reliably deliver electrical service to those rural areas on such a consistent basis?
So a lot of that has to do with both our inspection program. So we inspect our facilities and address those items that are identified. That's pole line inspections. That's doing feeder patrols. Vegetation management.
What was that last statement? Feeder?
Feeder patrols, where individuals actually ride out feeders to identify anything that proactively that could be in danger, like a broken cross arm or something like that. So you're able to catch it before it actually fails there. Redundancy, that's a big part. So in the smaller towns, we're able to pull in or build new feeders there so that if one feeder goes out, you're able to serve it from another feeder. The key to all of that is isolating the number of customers that's impacted when you have a fault, because you're going to have faults. We'll talk a little bit about that. So our service territory there is in a very challenging area there. We're one of the top in the country. I think Florida's got us beat on lightning density. So we see a lot of lightning in our service territory. We're in an area, I don't have to tell you this because we're seeing it here today, a lot of thunderstorm activity, a lightning, tornadic type activity. Of course, some of our service territories there along the coast where you've got the tropical storms, hurricanes, salt contamination.
And how many connections do you have?
I'm sorry, what was that?
How many connections do you have?
Interconnections with other utilities.
No, how many customers?
Oh, how many customers? 192,000.
Okay.
And so the really big challenge, when you look at a forest density map of the state, we're in a high vegetation density. So vegetation management, having a robust vegetation management program plays a big factor in your reliability. And that's why you see us invest a lot in our vegetation management program. So those are just a few of the challenges that we have in our service territory. And the projects that you see in our capital plan, our energy delivery plan, those that have been incorporated in with PEP filing, are to support the continued reliable operation of these facilities.
So your visual on your transmission, your distribution, can you tell us how y'all are seeing hotspots on like a transmission line or distribution line? Is it just visual, or are y'all using helicopters or drones? How is that?
Yeah, we're finding from a technology perspective, there's a lot of tools out there. So one of the things that we use, I'll touch on it a little bit, is LiDAR. That's light emitting traits. You've probably heard other utilities talk about that. That allows us to find hotspots where vegetation is. We also use infrared cameras. So part of those feeder patrols that I mentioned earlier, you'll have an individual in a vehicle that's able to take that infrared camera and identify those hotspots that you're talking about there, Commissioner Carr. So that helps us identify them before the failure actually takes place. The other neat thing that we really have, and this is something that we've employed here over the last several years, thanks to the support of this commission, is condition-based maintenance. A lot of our major substation equipment, that type of equipment that costs millions of dollars, has a lot of monitoring equipment on it now. So it's kind of like when you go to the doctor to get your heart checked, blood pressure, those kind of things. We're able to monitor those devices and catch, diagnostic type things that may be leading toward a failure there, and be able to address it before it actually fails. So those are some of the things we're trying to do to save cost as part of this also. Next slide. This next slide represents our transmission reliability. We use two nationally known and accepted methods there. A lot of utilities use these same metrics, SAIDI and SAFI. SAIDI is the System Average Interruption Duration Index. I know that's a long name. That just simply means, on average, how long is a customer out? SAFI is how often are they out? For transmission, you'll see a dotted line there shown on this graph, which shows we're trending down in transmission. Unfortunately, yes.
Question.
What's that number? You said the average time that a customer is out.
That's correct.
What's that number for
minutes.
Mississippi?
Yeah.
How many minutes is that?
So for us?
For Mississippi Power, correct.
So for using our Southern Company methodology, it's about 45 minutes in 2024.
Okay.
And that's just Mississippi Power, or is that across the whole Southern
That's
Company?
Mississippi Power.
Okay.
May I make a comment? Can you tell us what it is on average for the whole United States?
Yes, sir, I can. And actually, it's on the next slide right there.
So again, you said it was 45 minutes?
45 minutes
Average.
for Mississippi Power, yes.
Okay. What's Southern Company, do you know?
Southern Companies, well, we're the lowest in Southern Company. We have the best reliability for both transmission and distribution. We're about half of where Southern Company runs.
Good job.
So they're going to be closer to about 80 minutes.
Congratulations, good work.
Thank you. And that comes from support for this commission for the projects we've been talking about. You do see a few anomalies here, 2020, 2022, 2024. Here's the amazing thing about this. This is some of the best reliability in Southern Company. In some cases, it's very infrequent that our customers experience an outage due to transmission. As a matter of fact, 2024, one transmission outage that impacted customers.
Wow.
It was in Bay Springs. It was a 65-year-old transformer that failed. That's why you see us have infrastructure renewal in our projects that we've got there. So that's why you see the spike in 24. 2020, 2022, we had some trees fall from off right-of-way, so outside of our trim practices, and we had some equipment failures there, various equipment. It was lines that were breaking and things of that nature that we've corrected. So very low, very infrequent that our customers actually experience an outage that's been caused by transmission. And this has been over the decades of the investments we've been able to make. We're a programmatic approach company. You can't go in and spend all of this in one day. And so we spread some of these out over years to be able to tackle and address these type of issues there. So. Next slide. This is the slide I love the most, all right? And it kind of leads into Commissioner Carr's question right there. So fortunately, we are able to compare when it comes to distribution. There are public numbers out there available for us to be able to compare. The graphs that you see here, same exact SAIDI and SAFE metrics that we use for transmission. And you see nationally is the green bar. We also illustrated those that are in the C-Root area there. So for comparison, you see it kind of tracks the national there. And then the blue line is our reliability when it comes to serving our customers there. Of course, lower is better on this graph from a customer perspective. So customers on average, as you can see there, experience way fewer outages than the rest of the system. This helps us from an economic development perspective also as we're attracting economic development. And those companies that have a high value in reliability, we're able to illustrate this and demonstrate it. Questions on any of this?
Should help in revenue too, obviously. If the power continues to, the meters continue to turn, you get paid per hour.
Well, people more happily pay their bill on time when the lights don't go out.
That's right. When we keep the lights on, all things work better there for us. So,
Funny how that works.
Right.
so in summary here for our power delivery piece, our customers, thanks to the support of this commission, have experienced here. You can see this is a long trend. We want to continue to keep this trend up. And the investments that we've got there that are included, those projects in our capital and energy delivery plan will help us to continue to invest, maintain reliability, and modernize our system there. And so we thank you for your support. The next person coming up is Ms. Tiffany Mackin. Ms. Mackin is the manager of our Plant Daniel Generation Unit. And so you got some other questions. Okay. So
Yeah,
I just want to
Commissioner
make a
Carr.
statement. So are you telling me your competition is yourself?
our competition is ourselves.
Yeah.
And we
So you
continue
just want to
wanna-
be better than you was yesterday?
And just as a follow-up, what is your cost per kilowatt hour compared to other companies in Mississippi?
I'm not the cost per kilowatt hour
Okay.
expert, so I could turn that over to somebody here that may know the answer to that.
Just a second. I think Commissioner
go ahead.
Stamps has a
That's a
question.
great question. That's better than my question.
I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. I don't know.
Just close, and, obviously we
Um,
have,
So we compare much like this nationally, CRUC, inside of Mississippi. So I'd say from a residential perspective, I believe we are probably behind the other IOU, a little higher than the other IOU, in terms of residential. Overall retail, we are well below the national average and well below CRUC. And so when you look at industrial and commercial and residential, we are, I don't have well, you can't really do a number on that, but we're very favorable from a total retail perspective.
and as far as in-state as well, compared to the other big providers, IOUs.
Yes.
Okay, and I think sorry to interrupt, I think the ultimate question is, that obviously when reliability is at the forefront, then you get, yes, the lights stay on, and as to Commissioner Stamps' point, people are more than willing, or happier with their electric bill when they're paying for it's on and they're having that convenience without interruption. And so it's interesting to look at the numbers to say, okay, this investment for reliability should also pay off in revenue as well as customer satisfaction, but at what cost? And it sounds like it's not, that the trade-off is there to kind of balance it out to where you're not, all this reliability, expenditure on reliability doesn't raise the rates. That reliability actually works to keep rates more competitive because you don't have as many outages.
That is true. And also.
And the customers are happy.
What we didn't really talk about yet was the fact that our customer base, I mean, we have a lot of residential. We've got 192,000 customers, about 150,000 or so are residential. The rest are commercial and industrial. If we see a blip on a residential, basis, we don't like it. We have to reset clocks. It's an inconvenience. But if we have a blip for these large industrials, say casinos or some of the large manufacturers, that is real dollars to them if they see an outage. And so while we're building this system out, we're a little unique in that we have such a large commercial industrial base. I mean, almost 2/3 of our revenue is coming from those 40,000 customers that are not residential. So it's vitally important for us and for them that we have such a high reliability. It's not, I mean, it's a nice to have, it's a great to have for residential customers, but it is a must for those large industrial, commercial customers.
Mr. Stamps, you have a question?
I just want to say that to be able to have a comparable rate that you charge comparative to the service area you cover, and to be on the Mississippi coast area where you get more storms and more damage and still be reliable and offer quality service is commendable. And I look forward to continuing to work with you in the future.
And as a follow-up, this is off topic, but it's something that came up. We just came back from CROOC, so there's a lot of anxiety over, or somewhat anxiety over power generation and what we're going to need for data centers. And obviously, data centers consume a lot of energy. But you know, Microsoft's just introduced a new chip that has a whole new matter that's supposed to be quantum computing. So obviously, those power needs in the future, they're saying 2 years before this semiconductor chip is on the market. So energy consumption should go down. So as a company, you might not be able to answer this, but it's a concern that came up. How do you plan for the future, knowing that these huge data centers that consume tremendous amounts of energy today may in 3 years need half that? I mean, that's a balancing and a juggling act, because we want that economic development and we want those companies here. But in year 3, when they have this new technology, they go from, you know, the kilowatt usage here to half, and that could be very disruptive.
It can, and I don't want to get too far off into the special contract side of when we sign these contracts with different customers, and y'all approved one for us on a data center side a couple of months ago. We put protections in there for the company, but really for our other customers, our existing customers. And so things like contract minimums, there are different things that we build into these contracts when we go enter into them with the larger customers that are there to ensure protection. If they never show up, they don't run, they run less, they're still paying a minimum on a lot of these different contracts that we enter into. So there's different things within the contract, all of that which is confidential, that when we sign these with these customers, that's what we're looking for. And that's what y'all are also looking from us for.
I think Commissioner Stamps, you had a question first.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, my comment was along the lines of the work you've done to maneuver the data center we approved through the normal process with a formula rate plan. We've all shouted that from the beginning that we can do this, and you all proved that we can and are able to do large-scale projects with these hyperscale companies and deliver it through our normal governance process. And I look forward to continuing to do that in the future.
And I'll echo that. I think that's kind of where, you know, the process works. And we're pro-business, you know, but I think ultimately a lot of people are very concerned that the ratepayer will be left holding the bag. And so I know that you are concerned about that, but we're all on the same team there. So I appreciate y'all working with us, and we'll continue to work with y'all to try to make sure that we do everything we can corporately to make sure that doesn't happen. So, Commissioner Cole.
Agreed.
What I appreciate about Mr. Vance and Mississippi Power Company is transparency. When y'all are talking to these data centers or y'all come to us and tell us what you're looking at and tell us where you're at. I appreciate that. A lot of times we don't know who the person is or the customer is, but you at least communicating with us. And that's not quite throughout our sea route and throughout this country. That's not always the case. And I really do appreciate that. We're not hit blindside by getting 4 emails in a day about stuff that's happening that affects all of us. I appreciate that. And it is very open, that dialogue back and forth. And sometimes, you know, maybe we can throw a suggestion in there, and we're pro-business. We want it to happen. We want our citizens to be, we want those rates lower, and y'all work diligently on that. And sometimes, as my oldest brother would say, out of sight, out of mind. sometimes you gotta look down that power line, see who's down there working, because that bucket truck don't go down there. They have to build roads in there. And then the next day, the road's gone. They've done their work. So I appreciate that. I really do, the transparency that y'all have with this commission.
I'll echo that, and I know we're chasing a rabbit on this, but yeah, everything y'all bring to us, it's the transparency, and would love to continue down that path, obviously. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt this slide presentation. Next presenter.
Did you have the number?
Yeah,
Oh, you got it.
maybe, if I can read it.
Mike quit bragging on you.
So average retail, and I'm going to, so currently, average retail, us versus the national average, almost 26% below the national average, and 11% below the CRUG states. So that's total retail. Residential, almost 14% below the national average, and about 6% above the CRUG states. So, again, a lot of that goes back to the fact that we are, our customer mix is, I would say, way different, but a lot different than other utilities in terms of the large commercial and industrial customers that we have.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? On to the next.
All right. Now the good stuff.
Ben, go away.
I was feeling a little anticlimactic.
Yeah.
So again, I'm Tiffany Mack, and I'm the plant manager down at Plant Daniel here representing Generation today. So you heard all about the line side, so it's our job to make the energy that gets to the lines to get to our customers. So we have 16 units. We have a variety of technologies. You can see we have the gas steam units, which are old coal units that have been converted to gas. We have combined cycle units. We have CTs, which are simple cycle gas turbines, which are basically like giant jet engines. And we have our traditional coal steam units. And then we also have the Walnut Grove Solar and Battery Energy Storage site. You can see on the slide, we have about 3,500 megawatts during the summer. And then we have about 3,630 megawatts available in the winter. And you may wonder, why is that different? Well, it's really due to ambient air temperature. So when the ambient air is cooler, the air is more dense. And especially on those gas units, it allows you to get more mass flow through that unit. So you pick up, a couple of hundred megawatts. Our plants, you can see, are listed over on the right side. This is our capital expenditures. So most of our large capital projects happen during what we call our planned outages. You can see, for example, that Plant Daniel there, it's a pretty large number for this year. That number does vary from year to year. So the outage that we have this year is our Unit 3 outage, and that is what's called a major. So that particular outage only happens every 10 years. So all these planned outages, they're based on both original manufacturing guidance on operating hours, and as Patrick mentioned on the transmission side, on condition-based maintenance. So we're monitoring all that equipment, and then we're addressing it during those outages. So you will see that fluctuate from year to year.
Which one on the right are the coal plants? Is that Plant Sweat? Is it across the line, so it's Plant Sweat?
What was that?
Which ones are the coal plants?
Oh, Plant Daniel is the only coal plant.
That's the only coal plant.
Yes. Any other questions?
The coal represents one unit,
Yes,
and that's at Daniels.
correct.
So we have one that negotiating still going on.
Yes.
So it's my understanding, I was at this plant about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And they had these combined cycles opened up. They were doing a major overhaul. It's back up and running. It's back up and running. So my question is, did you meet your deadline?
We did.
Yeah. So
We certainly did.
very dedicated people there.
Yes, sir.
We went to the top, down to the bottom, and all over. Very professional people there. The men and women that are in the control rooms, they're all eyes on the screens. They're watching everything. I'm very impressed. And I know that's with all the power plants throughout this country and throughout our state and throughout y'all's footprint. Very dedicated. Went to church with a lot of them. Very dedicated. Their phone rings and they're gone. So you may have to fill in. You may have to be a Sunday school teacher because they're not there. So I get it. I understand it. Appreciate y'all's dedication.
Thank you. So with that investment, if we go to the next slide, we'll just show you some of our reliability metrics. So these are just standard metrics that are used across the industry. And I'm going to start at the one in the middle. So that's our E4, equivalent forced outage rate, and that's a measure of our forced unavailability. So what that means is however many hours we're down versus the service hours that we should have been running. Those are bad days. That's when a unit trips off, whether a relay rolls or lightning strikes, or you have a large boiler leak, or you have a large steam leak or gas leak, and you have to bring a unit off immediately. That's what that measure is. So lower is better, and you can see that industry average is up there around 7 to over 8%, and we are well below 3%. Even when we've had some anomalies like back in 21, when we had a generator ground event on Daniel 2, leading to a significant, almost 6-month forced outage, and it's still below the national average. If you move over to the left, the unplanned unavailability, that is a combination of what we call both maintenance outages and forced outages. So sometimes when you have an equipment issue, let's say you have, for us at Daniel, we might have a leak on our boiler, and you can still run safely and efficiently. And as long as you can run through the following weekend when you notice that event, you can schedule an outage, and therefore it's a maintenance outage. So it's captured differently. It's not a forced outage. But that EUUF, the unplanned unavailability, is a combination of both maintenance outages and forced outages and D rates, associated D rates. And again, well below the national average. And I think both of those are because of the investments that we're able to make and the wise decisions around the maintenance that we do. Overall availability, in this case, higher is better. And we, even across all those different technologies and ages of those units, we have very, very high availability. And that's basically the periods that you could provide service during the year in this case. And so we're up there right around 88 to 89%. And that's industry leading when you look at all the different technologies that we have. So really just kind of in conclusion for generation, we, like Patrick, we're not quite as big as the power delivery organization. We have about 275 folks across those plants, and they are working 24/7, 365. And I have to tell you, they are one team, and they really are giving it their best to make sure that we operate safely first and that we are generating clean, affordable, and reliable energy. And we're all of one mind on that. Do you have any other questions for me?
I'm good.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Who's next, Leo or Ben?
I have one procedural issue. So that concludes our presentation. I provided a copy of the presentation to the commissioners. I also provided a copy to the court reporter, and I would just move to introduce the paper version of that PowerPoint as Exhibit 2 to the record if there's no objection.
Any objections? Hearing none. We'll
Okay.
entertain as item 2.
And so, Mr. Chairman, we would rest at this point. That concludes our prepared remarks and information. Again, we're happy to answer any additional questions from the commissioner staff or commission staff. We would just request that if there's no additional questions, that the commission consider the proposed order before it that would approve the stipulation as filed in this matter.
Ms. Kruger, any questions?
Just a few questions about the PEP filing.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
You're recognized.
Could you explain the change in the bill for a 1,000 kilowatt hour customer between June 2025 and July 2025, based on the PEP filing?
Yes, so pursuant to the rate schedule and how the rates are laid out, so in April, once we make the filing in April, a portion of the rate becomes effective. It goes into place pending approval by the commission. And so that happened in April, and then the remainder of that rate will go into effect the first billing cycle of July, again, pending approval. And so that's going to equate to about an 86-cent increase from June to July. And then in addition to that, the surcharge will be implemented starting in July, and will run July through December, and then it'll stop. And that surcharge is designed to recover any revenue that was not recovered throughout the first 6 months of the year. So for the first 3 months of the year, there's no rates and no rate changes. And so in April, May, June, you have 2% of the rate increase. And then in July, the remainder kicks in. So everything you didn't collect January through June is built into that surcharge. And that will start in July and then run through December, and then it'll stop.
Could you explain the drivers of that increase that you just mentioned?
So there's obviously within, a $350 million, roughly $50 million capital budget, about $260 to $70 million O&M budget. There are a lot of small things that drive this, but primarily it's going to be the increase in the investment that we've made over the last couple of years. And so, I think we stated in our testimony, we haven't had asked for a rate increase in 3 years. And so you're adding that capital every year. And so it just starts to add up. So the increase in capital, the return on that capital and the return of that capital is one of the biggest drivers. The depreciation rates that were approved a month or two ago is another driver. The depreciation of those assets is an increase. There was a regulatory liability account that we implemented. This commission approved years ago after the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2017. That was money that we were returning back to customers, and that fully amortized at the end of last year. And so, if I recall, that was about $7 or $8 million that fell out. So that, put pressure on the rates this year. Cost of service, the depreciation, the investment, all of those are drivers. But, what we were trying to present here is the big driver is the capital investment that we're making on the system. And year over year, that starts to add up. We've been fortunate that we've been able to try to, hold rate increases off for a couple of years, fighting inflation and fighting things. But that, you start stacking that investment over 3 years, it adds up.
Thank you, Mr. Vance.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Kruger. Ms. Myrick, any questions? Okay. Mr. Jones?
I don't have any.
No questions? Commissioners?
Good.
Okay. Ms. Kruger, any more follow-ups? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Vance. So any questions at this point? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve orders presented?
So move.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all for a good, thorough presentation, and thank you, Public Utility staff, for your work on this too. You have a-
For having us and allowing us to try this new format.
I appreciate the format. It's very informative, so thank you all for doing that. So, any other business to come before the commission?
You have another hearing.
Oh, yeah, another hearing, yeah. So, we will move on to the next hearing. Docket number 2024 UN 107. Notice of Centerport's Energy Resources Corporation, DBA CenterPoint, and Energy Mississippi Gas, now known as Delta Mississippi Gas Company, LLC, a filing of change in estimated useful lives of system corporate assets as of December 1st, 2024. We'll start with entries of appearance.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Jim Halford. I'm with the Brunini Law Firm in Jackson. I represent Delta Mississippi Gas Company LLC, the current owner of the assets formerly owned by CenterPoint Energy Resources Corp.
Emily Kruger, Public Utility Staff.
Kyle Jones, Public Service Commission.
Okay, thank you. You may continue.
Well, I don't have any slides today so, for this depreciation study. What we have, let me just give the commission a brief overview of the filing, and then if you have any questions. Section 77-331
Let me start. I neglected to make this statement that it's my understanding that the staff and Delta have agreed to a joint stipulation which will be presented by you. So you're recognized. Thank you.
I was going to say that Section 77-331 requires the commission to ascertain, determine, and by order fix proper and adequate rates and methods of depreciation of classes of property used by public utilities. On October 20, 2024, CenterPoint, which at the time was the owner of the assets and and at that time was providing natural gas service in Mississippi, filed a depreciation study with the PSC, and it was Exhibit A to our notice there. And importantly, it only covered corporate assets of CenterPoint. In other words, it didn't cover the physical assets in Mississippi that were later sold to Delta Utilities. It only covered the corporate assets in Houston by the service company that was allocated to the three states, which was Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. So, and then on October 23, this commission issued a suspension order to allow a full investigation of the filing. And then in early January, the staff gave us data requests, and then we responded to those in February. And there have been no interventions in this matter. And then what we had was on March 31st of 2025, the sale by CenterPoint of the assets to Delta Mississippi Gas Company, LLC. But that sale, as I mentioned earlier, didn't include these corporate assets in Houston. And since the depreciation study only covered those corporate assets in Houston, and since those assets were only used to provide natural gas service beginning in December of 2024 through the sale date March 31st of 2025, then it had a very limited impact on rates. And so, as a matter of fact, in our 2025 RRA filing, our yearly formula rate plan filing that we filed on May 1st, we were looking at an increase of approximately $300 as far as the impact on our revenue requirement of over $9 million. So you can see it's a very minimal impact. In fact, for a typical residential customer in Mississippi, I think it was like 1/100 of 1 cent increase in their monthly rate. So it's very minimal. For 2026, when we filed our May 1st filing, then for the 12 months of 2025, there will be 3 months allocated to that, which will be January, February, and March. So again, a very minimal impact. But the statute requires that we have a hearing, and that's why we're here today, just to kind of go through that. Also, this study covered Louisiana and Texas allocations. So both the Louisiana Public Service Commission and the Texas Railroad Commission have approved this depreciation study as well. We entered into a stipulation with the staff as of June 11 of this year, which approves that depreciation study. And so now Delta is here. The current utility that's providing the service seeks approval of that depreciation study that we filed in October of 2024. And also, I'd like to offer into evidence at this time the file in this case so that that can be part of the support for our filing. And what I will say also, I'm available for any questions that you might have. If I can't answer them, we have Jason Sessions, he's the manager of property accounting with CenterPoint in Houston, available by Zoom to answer any other questions you might have.
Thanks, Mr. Alford. Madam Court Reporter, will you mark that in the record as Exhibit 1? Can you get
Yeah,
a
I'll
copy?
provide that.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Public Utility staff, Ms. Kruger?
No questions from the
Okay.
staff.
Mr. Jones?
No question.
Seeing no further questions, do we have a motion to approve the order as presented?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Well, I think now our work for today is completed. So thank you, staff. Thank you for the utilities for working with us. And I think Commissioner Carr has some statements.
For the last 16 or 17 months that I have been on the commission with fellow commissioners, and we have went to a lot of NARUT and CRUT meetings and talked to the other commissioners throughout the whole country and throughout the Southeast. We all have the same concerns. Those concerns are, as of today, like I showed earlier, 4 news articles. And people are starting to question about where we're heading as far as transmission generation. Seems like sometimes we're outrunning our headlights, so to speak. I appreciate, like I said earlier, that Mississippi Power is transparent with us. They let us know when something's coming into our area. I wish that was more upfront in our state and throughout our brothers and sisters that we go to these meetings on. They have the same concerns. That we have a industry that is expanding, busting with the seams. We are just Memorial Day weekend, we had, a load shed in Louisiana. I have family and friends in that area that were affected by this. And so the question is, why am I concerned about that? Well, it concerns me that Mississippi may be next in that load shed. And that's a very big concern with our fellow commissioners in Louisiana and throughout CRUT. We would ask that people or utility companies would please be transparent with us and let us know what's going on. I've said that with other commissioners and to our staff, from 25 to 30 is like nothing we've ever experienced. No utility company has experienced this amount of growth, this amount of trying to build power generation and transmission lines. In our state alone, we have a news article that was presented to me yesterday that we looked at a $10 billion project. Now it's 16 to 20 billion. So growth is here. My concern is we don't, what's going to happen? This is new data to all of us, everyone in this room, everyone that's listening. But I'm also concerned from 30 to 35 because we will not be able to use this 25 to 30 because it's all going to change. So as we start looking at investing, we want to make sure that as technology comes on, as y'all are aware of, technology uses less electricity. I can remember years ago having a great big old tower underneath. Now I can do everything that tower could do right here. So where's that information going? It's going to those data centers, which is consuming lots and lots of electricity. So we have to think about that. There's got to be a balancing act. We have to work together. We have to be transparent. We have to be open to someone's ideas. And we, as the commissioners here, we don't have that skill set to look out and make those calculations. We're depending on y'all, because y'all are our, future look. And that is a tremendous burden that I carry, because I don't want our citizens to be responsible for something that we've overbuilt, because that's possible. That's possible. And the only, as I've researched and I've tried to look for history to give me some kind of foundation of my thinking, is that when it was brought on years ago, when we went from horse and buggy to the combustible engine and automobile, we had one industry that died. It went away. And we had one industry that overbuilt, and only the strong survived. So in this era that we're in, the strong will survive. But who's going to pay for that? I don't want our citizens to pay for that. I want us to be responsible. That's all I have to say at this point.
Commissioner Stamps?
Just to add on that wonderful point you made, Commissioner Carr, in that same time period, 1/10 of all the Americans in this country were engaged in employment in the farrier business. They were enabling horses. Well, within 10 years, they were all obsolete. We're at that point again, where a huge portion of our population will be obsolete if they're not reskilled and move forward in society in a different way. And we are part of that process. What we do, and parts of what we do, are going to have to evolve drastically and in order to move forward. So let's all prepare for the destabilization, make as good decisions as we can, but also commit to seeing it through to the other side.
Thank y'all. Yeah, I mean, who would have thought quantum computing is at our front door? I mean, that's exciting times. And as we go to our CRUC and NARUC meetings, it is a concern because it is changing so fast. DeepThink turned out to be not quite as good as what they advertised, which is good for our data centers because they claim they could do the same thing that our data centers or AI could do at a much lower expenditure of energy. Seems like that was a false claim, which is good for us. But it is an ever-changing time, to Commissioner Carr's statement that it's a brave new world. So how do we navigate that together? And I know we're regulators, kind of a weird name, but we're here as a helpmeet, so we all work together. And I think we've proven that today and other things, that we're not adversarial to one another, but iron sharpens iron. And to Commissioner Carr's point, if we have good data and good facts, we can sit down and we can negotiate what is best for everybody. And that's how it should work. Don't hide things or try to move around the process. And I think that's the key part, and that's a lot of anxiety for those of us that are responsible for regulating these utilities and the service to our ratepayers. That's what we're here for. But we understand companies have to make profit. They have to stay in business. They have to invest in the infrastructure to have the reliability that we heard today. So it's a balancing act, and one that the three of us take very seriously, and the public utility staff as well. So we look forward to working together to try to figure out these things as those anxiety or stressors hit our collective industry. It's going to take all of us thinking together and not trying to put a round peg through a square hole, so to speak, to work together to understand with a multitude of counselors, there's wisdom. And I believe that, and it's proven over and over and over in my professional life as well as my personal life. So y'all are the multitude of counselors. So as long as we continue to work together, I think the people of the state of Mississippi will be much better off at the end of the day. So thank y'all so much. Any more questions?
I'd like to close on a note. You know, I've known this gentleman for 30-plus years. And when I was elected, one of the first people I called was him. And I asked him to join my staff and to be my chief of staff at the time. And he was honored that I would choose him. And I trust him. And then he called me back later before he was in office. He said, Wayne, I have to have open heart surgery. He had to have valve replacement. And here in the last month, he's telling me for issues, he's going to have to resign at the end of the month. And his name is Bob Odom. And I greatly appreciate what he has done for me and getting things lined up, because I'm new at this game. This is the first office I ever ran for, and the good Lord chose us to be here. He's been there for me. I've known him for 30-plus years. We went to church together for a long time. We've been through a lot together. We've cried together. We've laughed together. We've done a whole lot of things together.
Bob, you want to come up front?
You know, a true friend is one that would lay down his life for you. I believe he would do that, because I know I'd do it for him. Thank you, brother.
It's not over yet. It's not over yet.
Bob, I think we have to vote on this, so you might not get to retire anyway. Commissioner Stamps.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bob, you're a wonderful soul. Your commitment to duty is unheralded, and just as a friend, you're right next door, and you always come by with great advice. But more importantly, you're committed to the citizens of Mississippi, and your commitment to the citizens of Mississippi is shown through your work all throughout your life. I want to say on behalf of the Central District, I appreciate you, and I appreciate your family for always sticking with you, and I look forward to being a comrade in the future. You can always come by to Lake Victoria and go fishing with me in your retirement.
Thank you.
I'll echo that. You know, Bob's been a good ally for the commission. You know, and we endeavored upon this, the three of us, with a one Mississippi attitude, and that's reflected in our staffs. I think the Northern District staff talks to the Central and the Southern District, and vice versa. We bounce things off of one another. Our staffs rely on each other in a lot of ways to make it that one Mississippi agenda that we're working on. You know, we sink or swim together, and Bob, you've been a big part of that. So appreciate you not only supporting the Southern District, but also the Central and the Northern. So we're going to miss you, but you can't go too far.
That's right.
You know where the road goes, so come up to Northern District, and we'll show you around up there too. But thank you for your service.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. Well, we have to vote on it.
We got to vote?
Yeah.
Yeah. So before we vote, Bob, you want to say anything?
Yeah, sorry my voice is like it is. I'd have to thank Wayne for calling me and allowing me to be on his staff. It's been my great privilege and honor. And I wouldn't have met anybody here, really, except for Jared Morrison that I've known forever. And it's been, y'all have enriched my life, every one of y'all. And that means a lot to me. And I'm just pleased to serve with y'all. Wish this commission the best of luck moving forward. And I'm very honored to serve the citizens of the state of Mississippi. Thank y'all.
Thank you, brother. Bob, don't change your cell phone number. We may need you. Any more business in front of the commission? On Bob? We voted on Centerpoint? We did. Yeah, we voted on that. Yeah. So, yeah. Do we vote on Bob now? No, we're gonna let y'all vote, Bob. Thank you so much. So, hearing no more business in front of the commission, we stand adjourned. Thank y'all.